Budget. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me early so I can run back to the high school then. So thank you. Um, I'll walk you through and please pause me at any point in time. One of the things we talked about last year was sharing a little bit more information up front. And so I've attempted to do that. Uh, and there's other copies here if anyone needs them. I only have some extra copies. Uh, Basically, I wanted to talk about how our budget is ongoing and fluid. An easy example of that is with the opening of the new school, we had a position that we had in the budget, a teaching position. We shifted someone from one building to another into that building and left the other position open. So that's an open position currently in this year's budget that we're saving. That happens every single year. So if we have more kindergartners move in, which seems to happen at Millstream every third year, we end up with an additional class, we'll hire an additional kindergarten teacher. So that's just kind of an ongoing process. The district budget's at 2.145% over the last 8 years. The reason it's 8 years is just for those are the ones I've worked on. If you go back 15 years, it's under 2%. The district status quo budget, what that means is we start with all of the staff and programs we have currently and budget full. That's what status quo means. So to do what we did last year, again this year, we begin the budgeting process. There's always things we add because we have a kiddo with 9 needs who moves in and needs a tech or something, or we have someone leave, but that's where we start. And then one of the things I want to talk a little bit about is we've both worked to reduce costs and be innovative at the same time. You see in this budget, there are 5 positional cuts. The year before, there were 15. Over the last 5 years, so there'd be an additional 34.5 cuts. And so we've attempted to reduce as we've had open positions and again, be responsible. Some of the innovation that I mentioned, I'll talk about kind of as we move through. Some of the things we've looked at though, PLD, which is a retirement benefit we had for staff. The board voted to remove that for our ed tech staff when the state passed an unfunded mandate to pay those support service people more. And that saved the district about $100,000. In addition to that, Melanie from Norridgewock has taken on unemployment in our office. So we used to contract that out to the tune of $45,000 a year. And now we do it internal with our staff. So that's just some pieces that we're doing. On the next page, I wanted to share some results. Recently, Smithfield explored leaving the district, and it made me realize I need to do a better job sharing the positive things happening in our district. We are roughly 78% poverty, and our kids exceed the state average on the English tests every year. And this is the most recent test results. And that's pretty remarkable because when you look at the state average, that's one thing, but the state average is 44% poverty. And so our kids at almost 80 are exceeding that. The other piece, and Richard and I have talked about this, NUIA scores, they measure growth. Our kids kill it in growth as well, especially in that. Part of that is really everybody rowing the boat in the same direction, vertical alignment pre-K through 12 and early interventions with pre-K. The next page is the three-legged stool, and you have all been on the select board, so I'm not going to talk about that. So basically, the few big pillars for spending in school budgets, and of the state money that comes to us, poverty, state valuation, and student count are those biggest factors. We've been essentially flat on student count. Poverty's gone up over the last 2 years, kind of a bounce back from COVID, and state valuation is, we're going to talk about that as we move through. The areas of challenge and efforts to trim the budget, which is page 5. Health insurance for us was up 10.41. I was with a foundation that brings businesses together, and one of those businesses was up 32%. So that made me feel good about myself, not good for them. But that had an $824,000 impact on the overall budget. That one factor. I was talking to Chief, and we're 84.91% people, so very similar. And when you're people, really the only thing you can cut is people. So most of those costs are staffing costs. That's about $2.45 million in this budget, additional dollars. The main paid family medical leave law was another law that was funded. School district employees have similar benefits already, but that was added on top of that. And again, the ed tech law, which mandated the increase, which those individuals are very deserving of. They're amazing staff. we actually negotiated heavily on the insurance side. So now we have a contract that has a low budget amount that we can't pay. We have to pay the higher amount, but we still have to pay the same insurance. So that'll be a part of negotiations next time. Fuel and inflationary costs affect everybody. We're roughly at 10% on fuel and inflationary costs across the board. And then contracted services are up significantly. And we've tried to take over things and trim those. One of the things the board has done is they've really limited debt service. We don't take out and pay debt for the most part. So an example would be we don't go buy computer loans to buy our computers. We pay for the computers and we don't pay interest. We try to avoid that whenever possible. I've already mentioned a few of the other pieces. One thing that I've done is increase my advocacy in Augusta. There is a change to the EPS formula and school funding, which is going to help on the valuation side, which is good. There's an issue with Somerset County that will impact all of us negatively, and Brad Farron worked on that. But unfortunately, that amendment didn't pass. But either way, generally for rural Maine, it's going to be better over the long term. For us, we didn't get a big benefit, about $100,000 in 2 years. But most of rural Maine, using Mount Blue as an example, they're going to get $1 million additional funding. So, and then responsible budget cuts, I already mentioned. The last piece there is about 10.3% of our spending is grants. And so we leverage grants to not impact the load. The next two slides are I show you annually. This is a printout from the Maine Department of Education. They're always a year behind in their data, but that gives you the average cost per student in Maine is $21,717. We're about 4,230 per student. We're about 4,230 per student less.
Is that per year or per like their?
Per year. Yeah, per year. And so that's about a $9 million additional dollars would be there this year. The state average also spends much more money on overhead and district costs. If you flip to the next side, MSAD 54 spends about $4,450, so even more or less than all of our other tech center schools. So you look at all the schools that send to the tech center, we're even lower in that effort. We spend about 87.8% at the school level, almost 9% more than what the state spends. So I think we put our money where it should be. And then the last kind of bullet there shows that we spend 5.63% on district and school administration. State average is 8.62. The next slide is kind of your money slide. That's the one that has the full district budget with the 11 warrant articles. Here I just highlighted the overall budget's up 4.78%. Prior to the health insurance increase, we were at 2.79%. And so that had a significant impact, as well as some obviously fuel and a few things changed here in the last month or so. The central office administrations at 1.90%. The overhead, I already mentioned, and then grant funding is 10.3. The key piece here, I think, though, is that our local impact is at 1.998%. That is because of our revenue, driving up revenue to decrease the cost of local taxpayers, which we'll look at. I flipped the wrong way. If you flip to the next one, we'll start that valuation concentration. So this is last year's budget. And this came out a long time ago, one of my first years here, where the question was asked at this select board, what would it be in this year's budget? So I wasn't superintendent then, but I brought this slide ever since. So this shows you the valuation shift. And Richard was gracious enough to have me in this morning to talk a little bit about this, so that I could understand it better with towns and TIFs and what those do, because they impact all of us. And so the benefit of the devaluation, I think of New Balance, but also other parts of Skowhegan, is that we got additional state aid total. The negative is that additional state aid really drove down the cost for Skowhegan. And so you see, if the budget were flat, Skowhegan would get back $242,000, and Norridgewock would be up $87,356. That is with everything we're doing this year, no change. If you flip to the next slide, that gives you a summation of what that looks like on our revenue sheet. And I pulled it out this year to try to do a better job kind of explaining what that looks like. And so even though and this is the thing I can't change. So what I learned when I met with the town of Smithfield is people made the assumption that if they went somewhere else to another school district, they wouldn't have to pay the same amount. The state determines what a town pays, and it doesn't matter what district you go to. You're going to pay that same base amount. That's inside the essential programs and services formula. And so ours is not, we pay about 40 cents on the dollar for what we provide in education. The state pays about 60. Our local only is that additional funds in the orange, the 3,242,000, that's above the state formula. One of the things the state provides very little for is athletics. Well, we still provide athletics. They provide very little for central office. We still offer. So all of those pieces go into the additional. That's what you see impacted by local cost share. That can be a percentage students, percentage kids. So all told, though, the increase this year, the 329, 342 is actually less than last year. And so that local number of 3,242,763 is less than last year. And so we've decreased that, but the state is saying we should pay more, and that's why you have a net increase. We got it down to 1.998% if you flip over to the next page by increasing revenues and doing a lot of cost cutting and shifting. So the first line is essentially your emergency fund at home. That we carry that over every single year. So I plan to end the budget. That's less than 1% of my overall budget. I plan to end my budget with at least 1% of the bank unspent. And that immediately goes over to the next year. We do not put it in the bank or do anything else with it. We use it to lower the next year. The unassigned, the 1,750,000, that is from the bank. And we do everything we can in savings, like I mentioned, with the teachers that we didn't hire this year because of cuts. That money we also put into the next year and ideally take less out of the bank, which we've been able to do. The next one down is at the 11th hour, the state has put in additional funding for poverty. And so I put it here as a revenue of 200,000 because of that. The next few are small and inconsequential, but the Medicaid reimbursement of 872,000, we kind of shocked the moon this year with 600,000. We're going to be over 7. And a lot of that goes credit to our teachers and our staff that are doing that billing. That allows us to provide those services to kids and then get the revenue from the state. We're projecting being close to 900,000 next year. So it's just another example of by doing that billing, we get $900,000 so we don't have to charge it to the towns. And then the last three are kind of traditional. Our interest income is down a little because interest rates are down. Tuition is up a little. We have more kids coming here from other places, and dividends refunds are always kind of somewhat up in the air. The next 2 pages are the cost sharing formula, which I know Mr. Farron is a part of the work that happened, and that work did not positively impact the town of Norridgewock as a result. The proposal that's going to go to the voters on June 9th is a shift to 90% valuation, 10% student count 2 years, and then settling from that point forward, 80% valuations, 20% student count. Currently, Norridgewock, Canaan, and Cornville, thank you. Spend far less per student when you look at the student counts, and so they are negatively impacted. Positive impacts occur at Mercer, Skowhegan, and Smithfield. Skowhegan getting the biggest benefit from that situation.
So we've got Mercer folks here in attendance tonight. And
Yeah.
so the cost of this change to a community like ours is far more significant in that vote, which was based. This is the only time every town has the same say at the table.
Yes.
And Mercer voted against us, so did Smithfield. But that was the net result for the town of Mercer was the savings of $2,000 over the course of a year. And that hurts us a lot more. And the big beneficiary again is Skowhegan.
Yeah.
Saving $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
So
And so
we better stick together, small town, right?
this so
It's worth $2,000.
this what you see here, we're going to put information out so people can see the side by side and decide if they want to do that vote. When we did our research, it's split around the state how people handle this additional local. About half the districts do have something like this with student count, about the half are about 100% valuation. We had been previously 100% valuation since our founding in '67.
I thought they said down there 70% did straight valuation. You had that meeting with some.
It's closer to 50 of the people that would. So if you include a municipality that's one town in that number, then that's the case. But if Winslow's not gonna have the cost sharing, because it's one. So if you look at everybody who's an RSU who could do something like that, it's closer to 50. It's like 55, 45, or 54, 45. Yeah, you're right, Mr. Chairman. So that is the that's basically the bottom part of what I gave you, just recreated to see what it would be if it were to change. The last page is the summary for the 8 years. Kind of my biggest thing to you is you have a very active board. Desiree was going to be here tonight and others, but I switched I got the date wrong, and so she has a showing and others couldn't make it. But you have a very active board who advocates for all of your towns. Because we start at a fixed status quo budget, we are always thoughtful of the fixed income taxpayer in this community and what they're going to impact. At the end of the day, this is a big swing at the bat for us to be at 1.98% locally. I can't see going low. I can see going lower, but the only way I can see doing that is cutting programs for kids. Yeah, and we have done that. With the positional cuts when we think it's responsible, but we don't do it when we don't. And there's a lot of things we've done that I'm proud of, and just a few of them. You know, you got a busy night, but we've added a day treatment center in the district. What that means is kids that you had to send out for outside placement, we're now treating them locally in district, and that's about half the cost of sending a child out of district. Plus, they know us and they know our staff. So a decreased cost. The billing pieces I mentioned, taking things on like Melanie has. We have had staff members at the high school, for example, those high school budgets for 10 years have been flat. So if you look at those department budgets, someone who graduated 10 years ago, the department budget's the same as what it was. We've kept them flat. That's not the case everywhere because you can't do that. And software and other things push costs up, but I think we've worked to try to be responsible there. But I also understand you're facing the same thing at the town level, and especially all of our towns who are pretty fiscally conservative, the towns have worked to keep their budgets down.
What's the student count last things? Did they get hit hard that child or anything?
So you have two different questions. Our student count has followed the state, except we've plateaued, and everyone is almost plateaued and very down a little bit. This, I think it's probably because of the new school, but we've kind of flattened enough a little. The charter school, if I were to change one thing, Brent would say the one thing he changed would be not to give the building back to Cornville. Because if you go, that'd be about $1.5 million right now if those students were attending our district. With not a lot of additional costs. Now, I said to you last year, I'm talking to the town of Madison still. Ryan Arnold and I work together. He's the new superintendent there, and we're continuing that conversation. And because I think it would make sense for them to be a K-8 district and have their kids come to us in high school, just because of the opportunities. It would allow me to make sure we keep opportunities. We cut German already, for example. We don't have that, and it was a great program. They have no world language. Their kids are learning on a computer for world language. It would allow us to keep AP classes and other advanced classes for kids. It would help the sport program, etc. So we'll keep up those conversations and anything else similar.
Must be more in Madison there is.
What's that?
There's more in Madison than there is for SMU.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Like,
if it's your town, we wouldn't be a bulldog anymore, you'd be a riverhawk. No,
That's invented that already. You have anything?
yeah. Right.
Something to, the Fabrics clear.
Yeah.
With the budget shift and proposed if it's accepted.
Yeah.
Norridgewock is up $132,500.
If the,
Cost sharing adjustment was passed. If that cost sharing adjustment passes. Does that mean we're gonna see another $16,000 added onto our bill?
so budget alone, Norridgewock's up 132,542.
Yep.
If cost sharing passes, you would be up that additional amount.
So we're gonna be looking at 148,000 if starting vote go up the vote.
That would be an additional 16,110, yes.
And that's all to do this budget cycle. Melanie's gonna have a workshop for it and assessments.
Yeah, we'll have two sets of assessments prepared based on where the vote comes in. And then July 1 was July.
So that's pretty far more significant for us.
Yeah, my hope is that these are two different conversations, right? The budget, we're working hard to do it. And this was the cost sharing, as Mr. Farron knows, I wasn't allowed to really participate. Because I can't give my opinion on that, so I'm there trying to provide data and answer questions if asked without taking a side on what I think is reasonable. Because half the communities that I serve are negatively impacted and half are positive. Yeah.
The board's reference, the public reference, on the next regular agenda of the select board, we're gonna be discussing your budget. The cost bearing formula proposals, and potential for this board to take a public position on items of. So I already talked to the superintendent about that, but there'll be a discussion obviously of long-term importance to Norridgewock.
For sure.
This is just year one.
I don't have, does anybody else on the board have questions?
Is that gonna be just like it was before, every town, like this?
Yeah, it'll be identical, it's just who shows up to vote.
Yeah, but it's 3 and 3 and whatever, it's not gonna be the way you vote for.
There's no way to vote, no, it's just one person, one vote, just like it is for the budget. Yeah, and it won't be, we have our district budget meeting coming up. And that won't be talked about there, it's just on the June 9th vote ballot.
This is a random question.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys are looking at like grants and different funding, things like this, and this is completely like personal to my own, but like, my daughter's in 7th grade, her softball practices later, they always had a study hall that someone would do for them, and that's not there because we were told the budget wasn't there. Is there any mechanism, I don't know how it's allowed, but like, I gladly would have paid whatever that cost was, I don't think my kid have been $215 and go back to $315, like,
So
have you looked at anything like that in order to, as a parent, I would have paid that for all kids,
right,
did not have to drive.
so yes, we've now just when did John get the childcare license, like December?
Yeah.
January? So all of our sites are now childcare licensed. So what that means is most schools in the state aren't, but what that means is you could just pay. Someone else who can receive the state childcare subsidy can use that to pay. So we are intending to have a pay option beginning this summer with summer school and carrying it through.
Let's say, I think they do like a study hall. I think that there was one teacher at the middle school that would do these for the kids when they had that like hour and a half or whatever between like when their thing
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
And I think she's on vacation, so it was like, my kid sort of relayed to me that there wasn't a budget to pay someone to stay after school with those kids, because they obviously just can't be running around, but
Yeah.
if something like that comes up, like, I don't know how we will go about like a funding thing.
Well, that's exactly what we've done at Mill Street, is we added the app, because the number one request I get to leave the district, superintendent agreement, and every time that happens, that's 15 grand or so that goes. Was childcare, so we added childcare there, which has had a big positive impact. We tried it for a while with alcohol, and it didn't really work.
Yeah.
So we're doing it locally, but that will exist at all of our schools. I don't know though if what you're talking about is something different.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half between when they get out of school and when they have their practice, and like, you get them up at 2:15 and bring them right back, and if it's just a teacher's salary, like, I don't know how a parent can get that, but like, what a, for that fee.
Does the public have any questions? You've got it right here.
Yeah.
You've got anything on your mind? Right.
So I did put on this, you can scan a QR code, it's my first time doing a QR code, And so if you scan that on the phone, you can, and the link is at the bottom. You can provide any feedback. It comes directly to me, it's my survey, and I'll take that feedback. If you put your email at home, I'll call it. So please reach out.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you for coming in.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, moving down the line here, number 4, discussion regarding Park Park.
For those that don't know me, I'm Todd Pinion, fire chief here, so welcome to our home, and before I start, thank you to the full-time staff. They did a lot of work getting set up for the night, so appreciate that very much, thank you. So the uninitiated, the fire department maintains a capital list, which by definition is items that we anticipate spending or buying that are greater than $5,000 and that will happen sometime in the next 10 years. And we do that. It's zeroed right in on public awareness, giving the public an opportunity to comment on it, giving the select board an opportunity to comment on it. In that whole capital reserve account that we put away every town meeting, we put money in there. People say, well, what are you planning to buy with this money someday? It's the list. And this list has existed 6 or 8 years, something like that, and maybe more. And every year following town meeting, we update the list and present it to the selectmen. So this is that. All right, so this is not a new list. This has been around a long time, but every year we knock projects off the list and add projects to the list. And so I will go down through it at whatever speed you like. If you want to ask questions at the end, if you want to ask questions as I go, I don't care. I am ready. So number one is replace unit 24. Well, that's a bit of a misnomer. I said screw cat and chassis. Replace unit 24. So unit 24 is over here in front of the trailer. It's a 2000 Dodge 3500 inch tire. It's old. We do a lot of things on it that have seen better days. It qualifies for an antique plate, but we have not put one on it yet. And so we'll talk more about that one later on, because it's an agenda item for tonight. It's later on in the agenda. The new items will show up as orange items. These were adding or modifying this year. So we do have a need for some additional SCBA bottles and masks. And if you put those bottles together and masks together, that's probably $10,000. So we did put that in, and we're trying to find a way to get that done without hitting our tax later this year. But that is a need. We've had a long time need for our rescue boat. It's out in the back parking lot. It normally sits right here where the owl is, and it wasn't working well, so it's in the back parking lot. But it needs to be replaced with something that can get up and down where in very high water flows, very low water flows, get up and down the Sandy River. And the one that we have only can't do that. That's been on the list a long time. It is a focus primarily for this year for grant funding. So Deputy Chief our Deputy Chief Wyman is working on that, and he's done a bunch of a grant application research, and we'll be submitting a bunch of grants for that. So, question? Yes. Did you ever go back and look at getting it up? We've talked about airboats. We've talked about sailing, going to low water, ice. It's frozen river, right? Yeah. So we've talked about airboats. We've talked about hovercraft. Neither one are off the table because of the. I'm calling it boat, but those are very much part of the conversation. The only issue that I have with airboats is the amount of maintenance that they can take. Hovercraft, same thing, and there's a lot more people that can operate a more traditional boat, just some special training and safety, etc. So it will be part of the discussion, yes, because there's so many more things you can do. Half frozen river, half frozen pond.
I know years ago when I was on the fire department, we tested an airboat.
It would be a fantastic thing to have, but we would want to go into it knowing and thinking thoroughly through all the downsides. Potentially, right?
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. The fourth item is, as much as we tried to make these two engines the same, this is a 19, this is a 25. There's a big difference in pressure governors between those two trucks. This one is much more modern, very simple and easy to use for the average firefighter who doesn't operate it a lot. They can get through this one a lot. This one's a little bit more cryptic, a little bit more finicky. It's an automatic pressure governor, very electronic. I'd like to upgrade that one and I put that on the list. So that's new this year. We would still like to get some adjustable lifting struts. We have some mini struts now that can stabilize vehicles and lift to a point, but they are not a true lifting strut to be able to lift a vehicle up off from somebody or stabilize something that's particularly tall. So some lifting struts is on the list. Fire department storage building. We have a storage building today. It's over at the town garage. It's nice. I'm glad we have it, but it's not as useful as it could be. And I think that might be better served for other uses while we put a new storage building over here. So that's been on the list a long time. We really put it on hold during COVID because of construction costs went through the roof. Couldn't get a contract and build one anyway, even if you had $1 million, you couldn't have got one. So we've been holding back on that one for a long time. Portable SCBA fill station. So for those that took the tour, we have SCBA's bottles and packs on every truck. And we have this truck primarily set up for structure fires, this one primarily set up for rescues, car accidents, etc. This truck goes to a structure fire and it has 10 bottles, 5 packs, 10 bottles on it. And that's all it has. And if a second truck isn't there, I guess you could call for one. It would be awfully nice if that truck had the ability to fill a few of the bottles in the case that you need it. So portable SCBA fill is kind of a common thing out there. A lot of people have them. The closest one is Madison. Sometimes I'm not sure what the current status. Fairfield, I believe, has one. So that's why it's getting down their ways in the list at number 7. Turnout gear washer extractor. So that thing over there is a great big turnout gear washer machine. It's a big overgrown version of what you have at your house. It is designed to deal with all the carcinogens and get all the grime out of your gear. It's a very important piece of equipment, but it is 2009. That was received on a grant. It's definitely Chief Mike Savage at the time got a grant for that, but it's a 2009, and washing machines don't last, especially ones like that, don't last forever. So that's on the list. Battery combination rescue tool. It would be nice to have a backup rescue tool. I demonstrated a little bit on the rescue tool, the jog of light, if you will, on this stuff. It'd be nice to have a backup on the other truck. Upgrade JAWS cutting tool. So you remember we looked at the cutting tool with big clear scissors. The more they make vehicles, the stronger they make the steel. And the steel alloys science is going through the roof these days, right? And so eventually your tool won't cut that steel. And we've already had that. What the ones we had a 5,000 pound feather, we had 10,000 pound, long time ago. We've got a nice one now. At some point, there's not that many cars we can't open up, but there's more of them every day. And so you've got to upgrade your tools all the time when you can't cut the steel. And I guess I'm glad the manufacturers are doing that. If it's my wife and kids riding in the car, but it does make our job difficult. Here's the big ticket item, number 11. That tanker right over there, 2006 was bought new on a federal grant with a $240,000 purchase, and the town paid 5%. So that was great. But every time that happens, you're gonna replace it someday, right? Well, guess what? In 2031, which is what's gonna take, it'll be 25 years old. And just looking forward, telling you now, right? And I think it's a $700,000 purchase. Might we get another grant? Sure, we might. It's obviously way too early to apply. But we have to look forward to the future. Truck bay air filtration. What you'll notice in this building, it was not required and we did not do it. We built the station, but this station has no mechanism for getting the exhaust out of this space, other than opening the doors and leaving. And that's okay for now, until regulations change. Someday I'll probably be long gone, but someday there'll be people sleeping here. Right, I don't know where, someday, that's probably coming. At some point, getting the exhaust air out of here is gonna be an item that we need to address, so being smart about thinking about it now. Again, this is 10 years away, right? It's our job to let you know that's all. The next one, we've always had, for years now, we've had 2 vehicles on the list, and number 1 is replacement of that, we'll talk about it later. We've sort of repurposed this item number 13 a little bit, and it says fire chief officer pickup truck. So there's a couple things. One is, if you look around, we don't have any way to, we don't have a way to do anything like go to the dump. Now, as far as household trash, we can have the town public works crew do that for us, and I think we're talking about that. That's solvable, but there's a lot of need for a pickup truck around here, and everybody uses their personal vehicle. And at some point, they may refuse to do that, or it's just not right. And probably the single biggest thing is coming back from a call. Matt will tell you, right? You go to a call, our most recent fire was on Whippoorwill. We had somebody's pickup loaded right to the gills with contaminated hose, frozen air packs with insulation and other contaminants all over them, all of the hand tools, flashlight. You just throw it all in them, because it takes you a day to get everything back in order. We'll wash it all. You're sitting on top of that. But washing all of the hose and getting it all back in service, you can't go back on a fire truck from a fire. But we don't have a way to bring it home. And we don't have a way to make a simple trip to the hardware store or to go pick up this or that. People for years around here have been using their personal pickup to do that. At some point that needs to be addressed. The other side of the coin is, someday you'll have a full-time fire chief. It won't be me, but you will have one someday in this town, and those customarily, if you're hiring a decent chief, he or she is going to negotiate for a take on that. And you'll want that person to have that, because you'll want them to respond as fast as they can. Just telling you that it's an item to consider in the future. So, radio communications is 14. We have a really good setup right. So we're on the top of Bigelow Hill. We have a lease spot on a tower up there. We have a building that's fallen apart, but the school is building us a new building. So got our equipment in it. It's a large outhouse. So the school's building us a new one, so that's great. But we're on leased land, leased space at the top of Bigelow Hill. I think there's an argument to be made. I had with previous select board, maybe Matt might have been the only one. At the time, it was a long time ago. The argument to be made is if the right opportunity comes along for us to own our own site, own our own tower on the right hill, the right place, you could lease it out and make money out. You're really good, while solving the communications needs for the town in perpetuity, including public works, including sewer, including EMA, right? So I'm telling you, it's the right, but I can't put a year to it, because opportunity is going to drive the timeline. Do you have 1,000-foot hill you want to sell tomorrow? If you do, you're ready to start talking. Right? But so it's an item that the town could, I believe it's a money-making item. The town could solve its communications in perpetuity and make. So the last 2 items are just simple everyday things, but the hose, the nozzles, the fittings, and the firefighter turnout gear all have to be continually replaced over time. So I put them down there and put an as required. Many times you'll come to a $5,000 purchase really easy. The most recent one we did, which was Cody Jones joined, and we had to buy him some gear. And I asked, and you guys agreed. We took it out of ARPA funds for the town, but someday it could come out of the capital account. So that is the update that we have for you. I will tell you to go to page 2. Let me before we go to page 2. There's some other things that we're thinking about that we're not ready to put on the list yet. We'd like to consider a training area. And that would be an existing town, but suggesting anybody buys real estate. It's someday, it might be nice, it will be nice to convert these fire trucks to low pressure operation, be a whole lot easier. Trucks, they would last longer, firefighter fatigue, ability to put water where it belongs and not struggle. A low pressure conversion, it's a very technical topic, we can't go into it. It's not as much money as you think, but we want to consider that, so it's something we're thinking about. So if we need a portable, see that dispatch, that directly connected to Somerset, all right there. So our last call, there's a medical emergency, and I'll mention the graph there. And then it automatically mount, right to the mount, right to the left. We need the ability in the trucks. We're forever fumbling. Hopefully somebody with doing fumbling, not driving, right? But the officer's chair, if you will, next to the driver, is fumbling on his phone trying to find the right address and which driveway it is. Oh no, you gotta get there from here. So to have that portable capability, it's not my turn, not an iPad kind of thing. Here's one I'll throw you for a loop, life flight helipad. So we have the airport, why do you need one of those? Well, the airport is 5 miles that way. The hospital's 5 miles that way. Which one are you gonna pick? Right, so I don't think we have ever, please correct me back there, that I can remember anyway, taking somebody out of a vehicle, any in town, put them out. Have them require helicopter and taking them to the airport to get on a helicopter. You're not gonna do that. You're not gonna pound yourself out over airport road. And it's not our call, it's the ambulance attendant's call. But they'd rather go route 2 right to the, why not? They got a helipad, right? Would it behoove the town to have one closer to route 2 in town somewhere? It costs a lot of money, right? You need a clear open space to land a helicopter. It's on the list, it's on the future. It's on the future.
We have it's a helipad, but we have to go by all their standards.
That would be a great question. I can tell you that Lifelight, specifically Lifelight, I mean, has locations all over the state that are pre-mapped and pre-designated with a special sign, right, with a code on it. When you call 911, that code, helicopter lands there. So I don't think it's that hard to do. The FAA may be involved, I don't know. We haven't spent any time on it because it's just a future thing we're thinking about. But yeah.
You have that lot next to the bridge.
Next to the grades.
Oh, the proposed library site.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, there's a lot there. I think there's a better spot.
Well, this one is simple to 10.
It is. But that's a potential commercial or other space too. Maybe not the best use of, yeah, but it's a fair point. And then the last one on there is PPE, and we get called to a lot of actively violent type calls. In the last year, we've been to a couple shootings, we've been to a murder, we've been to some pretty things that we'd rather not go to, but you get called when you go. And so, is there something we should be doing for our people, PPE wise, protect them? And I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but I know that it's a concern on our city.
Is that because the Somerset County Sheriffs, they don't have enough personnel to be covering it? Like, it seems like you guys are doing fire, that's risky enough. Why are we making a fire? That stuff.
No, it's not really anything to do with the sheriff. It's more to do with the ambulance who's going to assist the injured, and they need help carrying, one in particular carrying out a snow covered road, I don't know, 100 yards or something like that. There was one where, and I'm trying to be very sensitive, as I said, there was one where there was still some active violence going on, and there was turned out to be a deceased person, but the ambulance was requesting and needing help. And You know, if the ambulance is coming from Skelly and we're coming from here, sometimes we're arriving at the same time or before that. So it's just something to think about. I don't know the answer. I don't know the cost. I don't know. It's an item to think about for June. And it's my job, right, to think about this stuff. On the second page is this items that have been completed.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
Public.
Correct, I agree.
Okay.
And I'll forward the document to Mercer Select Board for the full document.
Oh, sorry. The second page is items that have been ticked off our list over the years. And the interesting part about that second page is all the items in green, which are most of them, were either all or commercial grant funding. So we're very active about that. And we will be very active about that on items on the first page and continue to be. They're here because they're a potential cost item, not because they will be here. How's that? Or it could be displaced by a grant, as that was, and so many other things here. Any questions on this list beyond what you've already asked?
Anything from the board for a question on these? And then I will ask you guys if anybody got any questions on anything they've heard. Okay,
I'll give this to Mercy. Then page 2. I might have already shared it. No, it's our annual update, so thank you.
Just before we move on, again, thank you to the fire staff for getting the building around and then turning it around in the week. If anybody here wants to stay after and for the facility, staff is willing to do that for you, and linger around. And the last component we get is to the 2 out of the 3 municipal officers in Mercer. Thank you for coming. This is something that we've lacked oftentimes in communication, and it's 2-way. You know, you don't ask us and we don't ask you, and so I appreciate you guys coming today to talk about it, because we are in the Norridgewock Fire Department, but we do serve 2 communities. And honestly, when we start talking about grants and things like that, is because of our partnership with you folks that we gain leverage, because people talk about regionalization, and to an extent we've already done that. So Derry and Ricky, I appreciate you coming over tonight and entertaining us and learning a little bit more about how to operate here. So thank you.
We appreciate it, sir. You stay to a good crowd, right?
moving forward here, number 5, let's review and approve the minutes of April 1st.
So moved.
There's a motion. Second, any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's everybody. We'll jump to members' reports. Lindsay, anything?
No. No.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. Jackie? No. And nothing relevant from me. We'll move right over to Richard with the town manager's report.
It's on my computer tonight, and there it goes. Okay, the airport advisory committee met again last week. They're now on an every other month schedule, and they're working in smaller subgroups, trying to get things moving out there. It seems to be productive, and I appreciate it. It's more effective use of time, but the big news that came out of there last week, actually, there's 2 pieces. They have affiliated with the Experimental Aircraft Association, which is EAA. In the past, you go to the airport and you pay for a flight for Usula days. This EAA is an all-volunteer group, and they will offer free flights at Usula days at the airport to children ages 8 to 17. So there won't be flights for adults. There won't be flights for children under the age of 7, but there will also be no fee for the in between of 8 to 17. It's a really cool program that encourages children to get engaged in aviation. So your airport advisory committee has done that, and I think it's going to be a neat twist to how we get to experiment. And it won't be that long list. There are going to be multiple pilots and multiple planes that are certified to be able to do this, so we should be able to get a problem into the air. So the other big news that came out of that, probably bigger and far more popular, is the airport advisory been working behind the scenes to return fireworks to the airport. They did some fundraising before they came to me. They had some initial indication of support, but they have come to the table with commitment for fireworks to get them moving. And we have now started an active campaign to fund fire show at no expense to the taxpayer. The date for that is Saturday, September 5th. The time is looking like 7:45. It will be at the airport. And so there are fundraising opportunities there. From 0 to 5,000 really is what we're looking for, individual, organizational, or business. It's got a really great potential as long as I've had people have asked for fireworks to return. And so I think it presents itself an exciting opportunity. And that will bank into Labor Day weekend, Usula Days weekend. So that is kind of cool there. So if you have any interest in donating, reach out to the town office, happy to talk about it. And they'll be reaching out to folks in the community as well. We had the initial kickoff meeting with iWork. That is the code enforcement software that you folks approved at the previous meeting. The kickoff meeting was very, very brief. I almost didn't put it on my calendar. But we do have a session on Monday. To get further into it, learn more about the site build out and how to navigate. So that will probably give us a better idea on the timeline of implementation and when that becomes a greater value and final execution to staff. We have been scheduled on the initial appearance for the illegal junkyard at 754 Ward Hill Road. That has been a long time violation of the foot of the hill. May 13th, and it is the initial court date where we'll go in and attempt to settle before we go into the courtroom with a consent agreement with a mutual agreement for a timeline for pleading. And if we are able to do that, then great, we will draft that agreement and send a signature. And if we are unable to, then we get ordered to trial to see that through as we have in one instance before. We've taken 3 to court now. 2 have been managed through the consent agreement and 1 went to trial. Ultimately not the greatest result for the town, but that's where we're moving on with that. We'll keep posted after May 13th. The Parks Committee met to discuss their seasonal planning. They are hoping to roll out a Memorial Day program, which will include student essays from Mill Stream 4th and 5th grade. A wreath lighting, and hopefully someone can come and play a little bit of music. That will be on the morning of Memorial Day. More information will come together as we get a little bit closer, but that's another one where folks want to have something here in the community that have no scouting. And so we thought that there was a place for them to plug in. There will not be a parade. Parade is a significant safety and financial burden for the community. And given that there's one in Skeleton at 10 o'clock, we didn't think that that was best. We've received 4 payments so far for the temporary construction easements along Route 2 related to the Main Street Road and Sidewalk project. For each parcel, we received $500. So far, we received, I think, $2,500. Maybe just the 2,000. They've directed those funds to the road reserve. It's not a ton of money in the grand scheme of the road reserve, but the road reserve is what you folks have allocated the balance of that project come from. So I thought it appropriate to allocate it there. The deadline for the bridge news articles is slated for April the 30th. Sorry, Chuck, I'll move to that. April 30th is the deadline for bridge articles. I am going to extend that just a bit because I think I'm going to get beyond this next select board meeting. With you folks, if you have anything you want to put in there for public education, and if anyone has anything public general interest, please feel free to get that to me as soon as you can. CD, Return from Savings Bank, and which on Friday, that's going to be renewed at 3.53 for 6 months. It also includes your upcoming meetings. And a reminder, next Monday is a holiday. Your assessment agent hours are different this month. She is in tomorrow, next Thursday, and then on Wednesday, the 29th is the community service day. The town office will be closed. And the students will be in town from the high school.
Good, excellent, thank you. Number 8 here, discussion action on April 15th, general warrant number.
We want to approve general warrant number 8 in the amount of $379,403.61.
Motion,
I'll second.
and a second. Any discussion on that?
USDA, what's?
That is the sewer loan, so it's the interest and the principal combined.
Okay. What's the main equalization consultants?
That's our assessing agent. Gone.
Oh, okay, all right.
Is that 15,000 daily water there because of the Bigelow Hill project?
Yes, but also the library.
The amount of money we spend every single month on engineering is Sort of ghastly.
It
Could we hire an engineer?
Which-
Hire them.
that discussed once.
That was before my time. We probably write a total of, depending upon what we do for projects, right now, we don't have the money to assist in these projects, and so they become more expensive. And they typically are tied to,
The total amount of the project, that's what I'm saying, like, if we have, I mean, just thinking of the library stuff alone, I mean, the percentage of that, like. If we pay someone $400 a year, are we getting the better, it's like, so they can make airline, light bulbs.
I hate to award a lot of this engineering, but the library is.
Yeah,
So you can bring one person in for what
Yeah.
you're paying on an engineering fee, but you're not getting that full portfolio.
okay,
That's the obstacle to
yeah.
any
County
town.
buildings, I'm wondering, if long term, the amount of money that we're paying on engineering every year, like. Do we just, I wonder, find another town, and maybe we share that, could that be a cost savings with the amount, I mean, every month, I feel like, holy crap, that much, like. I mean, it's a lot of money, if we tallied it up to see every year what we're spending, it'd be interesting to know like where we're at for expenditure wise, like I get that there's grants and there's matching funding, but. I wouldn't mind seeing what we're actually paying to see if it could be worth trying to get some.
Well, maybe that's something to visit in future meeting, or maybe have you kind of punch together some preliminary numbers on what we actually really spent.
We can give our local towns like do you need engineers? We got one, we can,
Let me hear my.
Right.
well, I mean, give them flexible schedule, kind of honey, and we could be.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? So that's everything. Discussion action on April 15th, airport warrant number 4.
I'll move to approve airport warrant number 4 in the amount of $1,839.86.
The motion,
Awesome.
second. Any discussion?
What do we have to have Northeast Laboratory Services?
They have to have a water test annually, so that's.
Just so you look at it.
Oh,
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's everybody. Number 10 here, public comment. If anybody in the audience has a public comment or anything they'd like to say, they've got their 2 minutes where they can speak.
One of that is we can move it up another. Probably a couple of towns, the town outside of Eden. Engineers are, there's no. Strong cheer, bad idea, put our own engineer on.
No, but the sharing is becoming a thing that towns.
Towns too, so it's. I mean, you do have law and water group that's code enforcement. So I need something like that, I just don't see a town outside. Yes, we pay a ton, I mean, we want to pay a ton of money, the engineer. But I just don't, it's not cheap.
No, but it would be interesting to see that side by side comparison of what we spend and the closet versus farming it.
Unless we're paying the same amount, I mean, we're only 3,000.
You have to know, we have to be community water for that time.
And I'm sure there's a business for that, like.
Gotta be,
Mental.
My engineering, not,
Oh, right.
So, like, two things. One is, the biggest problem we have with the engineer is that. There's no engineer that has degrees in 6 disciplines, so I mean, you're gonna. At times electrical, when you're talking about lighting or whatever, you get the times you need mechanical, at times you need civil, at times you need architectural, structural, so. That's why engineering firms exist. Because. That's why they're there. Because you need 6 hours this year with an electrical guy. So, anyway, second thing I had was, there's food in the back room, please eat it. So.
Yeah.
So walk in and get a sandwich.
So, something with those, like,
that's possible, and I think it's something possibly could be explored.
We'll have a discussion about it. On an agenda in the future, we can do it at the next meeting because
get to my lunch.
it'll be quickly to solve stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we can lay it up. There's the ups and the downs, but I think Todd's big value that there's so much that you want. The other big thing that we have is that when we start doing a lot with engineers, we have a tendency to have turnover in engineers because we have a lack of contentment with the end product that we've found. And when you employ that, it becomes far more difficult to make that change, whereas on something like this, you're just on a contractual basis for the project.
Right.
But
We don't-
we should run numbers. We should look at numbers at the very least to be able to show that.
And you want this civil? That's even, just,
Yeah, that's what we use.
Mhm. That's,
I'm negative limits, is that what you can say? SW code,
SW Cole is sampling. Haley Ward used to be something different. Gosh, oh man. It was a different firm.
It was CES.
Thank you, that's what it was. See, yeah. Anything else from the public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll keep chugging down the line here. Number 11, public hearing on proposed junkyard at 346 Walker. I think you guys have a copy of everything in front of you. So in your packet, you have the same application on the two properties that it's in last meeting packet. Then you have a flag, and then that flag gets you to a memo regarding the site inspection and recommendation from staff. And then you also have photographs, aerial photographs of the property, so you can see what the current status is. You should be able to see some of the screening that's currently in place, i.e. fencing, protected from the road. And so that's what the board is. What we ordered at the last meeting in compliance with statute was a public hearing. That public hearing was sent to all abutters that own property within 500 feet of the edge of these two properties. The applicant is applying on two properties. He owns one on the roadside and one immediately behind it. And so to ensure that he was compliant with state statute, we encouraged him to file on both properties. So this is two properties, two permits on the same jump. So the process now is not for the board to deliberate or discuss. It's going to be to open it up for the public to comment in the best order that you can find.
I see we've got a few people here. I believe Richard, oh, yeah, it's right there, okay. Richard's here. So we'll start with each side. They'll be able to say their piece, you're not to interrupt, or anybody else who is ever speaking, please speak to the board, not amongst yourselves. Again, anybody that's here is here to address the board and not the other individuals. So with that, I mean, I'll open it up as I guess as I see you guys, but is anybody here that wants to speak? So I'll have you just stand up, say your name, and then
My name's Kim Byron. I live right behind him. I have animals that are not even a foot behind him that have a pen. I'm worried about the oil and all the fluids and everything from the vehicle going through because there's not a fence. There's a bunch of wood piled up. I don't want my dog sick. I don't want my cat sick. Like, I'm very concerned about it. We live downhill. We have all the liquids and everything's gonna run down into our well, everything. So, yeah. And so what I say,
Okay, well, thanks for coming down.
not a problem. I'm worried about my animals. And they don't want me to move her.
Thank you. Don't know is anybody else here that wants to speak? You know, please, just stand up, say, everybody should know you, I'm gonna say your name anyway.
next door, he's been there about 30 years. It's obvious, and we never had a problem, so, or.
Good, thank you. Anybody else that would just speak?
We still have far up the road is coming.
As far as how
Far up the road is coming.
far off the road is he? How far up the road?
Yes, and as far as 344 or,
So his,
I don't think the aerial views.
oh,
Do you know where the applicant lives and where he currently operates? Okay, he's not expanding any footprint. He's actually gonna consolidate footprint and gonna install additional fencing. I don't wanna get into a back and forth, but I think it seems maybe more appropriate. You just respond to him. Is that okay?
oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I dealt with before and it's, I don't have any problem with him having his junkyard there. I just want to help out with certain companies.
So the applicant's been operating an unlicensed illegal junkyard for a number of years.
Yeah.
And working with staff, code enforcement, has been willing to improve his property, operate under state standards for a licensed junkyard. Most people aren't willing to do that, and, so what he's gonna do is he's gonna take his current conditions. Is gonna require that he follow state statute for that, which is, containing operations, keeping certain records. And then, shielding, screening from public view, so, there will be fencing. You won't see his operations, you do not see his operations from the walkway.
And as it says right now, screening is the only thing to finish being completed. If the board looking at your stuff, you can see the start of, due to the frozen ground. I've seen that he has an abundance of fencing there and ready to go in, and once the frost is out, he'll be installing the fence to meet those screening requirements before we full on approve this permit.
Yeah. I'm with the guy before me, I'm all for it.
Okay, excellent, thank you so much. And I think you're the last one left, Richard, if you want to speak, please feel free.
I'll make you now.
Okay, right on, but thank you for being here anyway. Yeah, I know, does the board have any specific questions?
Well, I guess like my question would just be, I can see in here that it's explaining how all the solid, well, seems like concerns of the abutting neighborhood, the animals and things like that, so the solid waste, I mean, that's all anything that being run off. So, those things in place, like do we approve it and then let those like get in there, like. what are we gonna do?
There's requirements on what has to happen with this fluids, and, it's all mandated by the state, you can see that it's gotta be stored in a building, they
Yeah.
have to be drained out.
And no, that's already in place, like the buildings are in place and all those mechanisms
So
are there.
those are in place, he's got some other improvements that kind of go above and beyond what's required, that plan,
Right.
and would be monitored by the code enforcement officer.
Regular burn, I had a regular burn from my little garage there. So all the oils and stuff is burnt up in that.
Yeah, essentially recycled right on
It's
site.
like with the mini antifreeze,
So and then there will be like fencing that's,
So that's
Really solid.
all he's got left to complete is the screening requirements. He's got a self-built wood fence, which really is similar to a picket fence, just solid, or stockade fencing, to meet that 6 foot. And will shield everything from the road. He has a couple different setups in place right now, and just needs to extend them the final bit to complete his screening requirements.
okay, so that would in essence protect any animals, obviously animals don't do what they're supposed to, since I was here half hour later.
Sorry. Go ahead, no, please. Do you have any questions to the app? Directly, or do you have questions reserved for staff?
I guess I was talking as the code enforcement officer, so like that was.
Right, yeah. But you'll get a chance, yeah. That's right. Anybody else have anything relevant to this? Not seeing any hands. So with that, we'll close the public hearing on the junkyard. At 346 Walker Road, I will move down to the next item, which is discussion action on proposed junkyard at 346 Walker Road, which is for the board to decide if you have any questions for me, Cole, or amongst yourselves. Beyond, or a motion to approve.
How close can we be to property lines? Is there?
So to the property line, no, there is no setback off the property line. For junkyard.
Setbacks from private wells?
Yeah. That's really the only setback you have. And he did meet all those requirements.
Yeah. Yep. Lindsay, to answer your question, there's no requirement for this applicant fence their property to protect animals from coming on. It would be incumbent upon the butter to fence their property to contain their.
His requirements are just shielding from the public way.
Okay.
So. For this, it's the water. So you'll be completely shielded from visibility on the water.
And do we set a timeline for, it seems like it was conditional with approving it with them putting that up when I looked at the recommendation of our code enforcement officer. Did they complete that? Do we have a timeline on that, where if it isn't that they're sort of?
I won't sign his items until those are completed.
Okay. So if it doesn't happen, then the licenses.
That's right, right.
So that way we can sort of force all of the compliance ahead of time before we give it up, so try to choice, okay. Great. So I move that we will go with the code enforcement officer's recommendation of approving it pending the completion of the said improvements to make it compliant.
Okay, there's a second. I'll second. The motion is second. Any further discussion? Once forward. Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's it. Everybody that's here, thank you for coming down for it. It's really the public input that helps the board make those decisions. So thank you again.
Never seen this one.
Thank you.
Okay, number 13 here, discuss action on fire truck proposals. The first of the two, please.
Thank you. So. Last meeting. You got the three, wow, no, it's 2 meetings ago, or 3. Thank you, Richard. 3 meetings at time flies. You approved sending out the RFQ for a truck and a body to replace that truck right there. It's a 2000, the body's newer, but the truck is still a 2000, and we will be selling, it should be approved, we get something new, we'll be selling it. And making some truck, put back into it. We'll put it in a carry. So we did go out for proposals, I hand carried 5 proposals to 5 local Ford dealers. The 2 obvious ones, Central Maine Ford and Heights, and then Farmington, Augusta, Newport, okay? That's the whole day. It was assured by all of them we were gonna get quotes back, but we didn't. We only got quotes from Central Maine and from Heights. But, the good news there is after some wrangling of, you didn't quote the right thing, you have to do this, you have to do that, take this out, add this. After all that was said and done, we ended up with quotes, that were 1.6% apart, right? So very, very close. So you see in your sheet there, Heights was 94, almost 95,000, and Central Maine was 93.3. And then you're stuck with what goodie did one dealer stick in there that the other dealer did, or vice versa, right? And so then went through the process of comparing and saying, oh, I'll pick one, engine block heater, $250. Heights put that in. Central Maine did not. I didn't ask for it. Heights thought I might need it, so they put it in. And so I'm subtracting $250 for that, right? Because that's what it was on their quote. I'll pick one the other way. Central Maine did not add the high capacity towing package that Heights did. But that's something I want, so I have to add that to the Central Maine column, right? So by the time you go down through these adjustments in the middle of the page and look at the total, then you have a real apples and apples and who's hungriest, right? And you do all that and you get down there and it's 0.6%, it's $600 a pop. Very, very, very tight, right? And so we're going to recommend to the board that you approve the higher number, $600 per year, for a few reasons. The biggest technical reason is that Height offered a 9-foot body, and we requested an 8-foot body. When I asked Heights to change it, the response was, well, we can take it out of the quote if you want, but they only cut 9 feet. So, and that's a Duramax limitation here. Central Maine offered a Napite body with Messer and Westbrook, and they were able to meet the 8-foot that we requested. In my mind, more responsive, a 1-foot shorter truck. I mean, if you look at mass out there, right? We don't want these to be any longer than 8 feet is what we really, really want. Central Maine provided that. They also are a repeat vendor. The town's been happy with Central Maine. They don't have any reason to enjoy the service. And if you asked me who was the easier vendor to get along with and more responsive, the answer all day long was Central Maine Ford. So my request, our request is to spend the extra $611. For a total of 96,362 to Central Maine Ford. And then I have a second part of the request, because I don't want to come back to do this again. That'll give us a truck and a body, and that's great, but we still gotta we gotta add all the emergency lights, we gotta add sirens, we gotta add radios, we gotta add all the stuff, right? So this 12,105 to Huzzy Communications. The seats in the back of this thing are just gonna be standard seats, and we want SCBA seats in there that hold some of our impacts, so SCBA seats that bolt into a Ford 550, those are $5,580. We did pull the tires out of the vendor bits and would prefer to spend our money downtown. And so we moved the tires out. I stopped and talked to Eric and got a number, and 3,000 will more than cover that. And then around the corner from Eric and Kluge, he did those graphics you're looking at right there. And he's gonna put that thing on our truck for $1,150 for a grand total of $118,197. So my request is in two parts. One is to approve the purchase of Central Maine Ford for I'll say up to 96,362, and then approve additional purchases for the grand total of $118,197. I don't know how that should be worded in motion form, but that's my ask.
I have drafted it to authorize the purchase of Central Maine Ford and additional expenses as requested by the department in an amount up to $119,000.
So do we have to make a motion before we can discuss anything specifically on this?
I think, just one sec, let's just get it on the floor with a motion, and then we'll need some discussions.
So I'll make a motion that we approve up to $119,000 for both items as listed.
Okay, so it's a motion
A second.
and a second, now discussion.
So is nothing to do with like sirens, radios, nothing can be reused, like it's all just like junk?
The problem with all of it is the short answer. That is on that track, strobe technology from 25 years ago. It can't get bulb format.
Okay,
It's nowadays it's not that.
Yeah.
It's all different stuff now. It's the original siren. The radio is the original radio. It's junk. We tried to replace it. There was a hole isn't big enough in the dash. We tried to replace it 10 years ago. We couldn't do it. So limping along on a radio that half works. There's nothing.
yeah, it's just crazy.
We are using the skid, that firefighting skid in the back.
Yeah,
And going right in the new truck and all the axes and all the other miscellaneous things, but as far as lake siren.
it's just like the lights of siren and a radio, 12,000 seems like. it's a lot of
Yeah,
money.
I mean, you've got a long body there, and my NFPA standards requires a bunch of strobes on the sides, on the rear, it has to be a certain way. And when you add all that up, it is expensive. Yeah, frankly,
Could you guys?
if we were to do, how did that one get done? Oh, people from the department spent a whole bunch of time, nights and weekends, DIY.
Yeah. You guys have some really good people though that can do that.
Not appropriate, really. It's the same thing as using your pickup over and over and over. It should be done by a professional, done and done right, and then we accept it as working and working correctly, or help, and that professional fixes it to this. And that's the appropriate way to do it. And so there's a bunch of labor to it's not just the lights. It's 4 days of a technicians running all over the thing, drilling holes and pulling wires. There's a lot to it,
Tractor to just come all with it.
Yeah.
Get you on every, better than a full tank of gas, right, Chucky?
Right.
I'm taking it, yes.
The next truck could be a dump truck or something, right? So I mean, just forward. How come we direct that just to get the prices from
They want the training to last more than.
before? Yeah, how come you just get it from Ford here? Ford it's more or less become the standard for a few reasons. One is, like you'll see all the ambulances and whatever, Ford F-550s, it's very common. Ford does a better job at preparing their vehicles for that type of service. The SCBA seats, for example, if you go to the manufacturer and you say, I want to buy 2 SCBA seats, We make them for Ford F-550. Or do you make them for Chevy? No, we make it for Ford F-5, oh, and we make it for the 450 too. That's the answer. So there's a number of reasons that that's become a standard. We're very happy with the local Ford dealer. We've been using it for purchases lately. It's really, and there's a state bid element to it too. They have an advantage with the contract that they have with the state of Maine. So there's an advantage there. So by picking a Ford, regardless of the dealer, by picking a Ford, the town gets a better price. So it all adds up to being the smart way to go. At the time that was bought, I remember it well. Dodge had the state bid. And that's why we bought the Dodge.
Ideas are local people, they do pay taxes in Norridge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I don't know, we all talk about what should do business local, and then from that. That's just my opinion.
Chuck. My biggest problem technically with that is that I don't want the 9-foot body. And I don't want to DIY the body either. I want to buy the truck and the body all as one unit from a vendor. And there's only one that offered to give me what we asked for.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem. I can't argue with what you said.
I can't believe I didn't want 14, can't get around the corner with being football. It's.
I think if you bubbled a foot wider, you'd be tough in your car, I know the fact, but.
Was there a reason why I went with Duramac instead of Messing?
I did ask specifically that. We had a very tight spec on an 8-foot aluminum service body with this and doors and lights and, you know.
Yeah.
We didn't specify manufacturer, right? Central Maine Ford picked Napa body with Messer and Westbrook, they use them a lot. You're probably familiar, they do a lot of stuff around state. The heights went with Duramac. I did not inquire why. When I asked about, can you give me the 8-foot that we asked for? They said, no, but we can remove it from the quote and you can do it yourself. That was my response.
Yeah. But I see you chomping back there, where you go?
Can I add to that on the hard thing, of all such event? When you award bids for road projects and other projects in this town. If a local bidder, if a bidder from this town that pays taxes in this town is close, we give them 5%. We give them, don't we give some consideration on those bids when it comes to awarding road or bids you talk about that? I've heard it before that you give some the considerations of the local guy. And yes, you give some leeway to the local guy on awarding bids for jobs. So why wouldn't, where the heights do own the side of the one property in this town, if it's apples to apples. If I understand that, and I'm not doing that point, Tom. I'm just saying if it's apples to apples, then I would lean towards the heights for that purpose, and I think we made adjustments for contractors.
Well, the contractors, house like this.
So we looked at this when Todd and I were doing the proposal. It does not grant an allowance to a general taxpayer. It grants an allowance to somebody with a business operator in the town.
I'm making sure I understand it well.
And I'd be willing to even consider that too, if we got apples to apples.
They tried to, you wanted to know, I didn't looked at it first.
In this instance, it's almost the same, but that allowance, just for reference, is capped at 5,000 regardless of the size of the project. So it's a percentage if it's a smaller project, but once it gets to 100,000, it's capped at that 5,000.
But I think that would make a difference in,
But I don't know who owns Central Maine, or if they own property in our town.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea.
and I just want that.
Good.
Right, so in this instance, on a $50,000 or more proposal, they're allowed 2%. That's the give on a project that's this size.
And I don't want to force these guys to buy something they don't want, and it's not that's it really is not. Right.
When this conversation started, I had the same question, why wouldn't we consider height first? But hearing the whole proposal, Yeah, I don't, I wouldn't hear them. Personally.
It seems like they're
You can get what you want.
everything they want size wise, inch, I mean, you guys have things down to like the inch, you know what you want for size and bigger makes more head. We spend this much money, might as well do what you want.
Yeah.
We're gonna spend, you know, don't compromise on $100,000 thing, I mean, get it, it's a foot, but
Right.
foot out of something that's 20 feet long, that's like, it's,
Limited space.
yeah.
Well, it's the woods. It's really the.
Gotta minimize talking in the back, people online can't hear.
It's the space in the woods, it's not really the space in here or the space in the park now. It's the space in the woods, yeah. That we're concerned about life. It's already gonna be longer than we'd like. Here's what it is, yeah, it ain't longer, that's why we specified an April bud.
And you've had plenty of dealings with that same customer and you've had responsiveness and you've been pleased with the service and the,
But I'd ask Richard that, I have not personally.
yeah, I mean,
I want to make very clear, it's not that we don't want to do business with local folks.
sure.
And to drive to Skeleton is almost as close as it is to drive to Waterloo. Everybody's gonna come and get your vehicle anyway for service.
Mhm.
The fact of the matter is that Central Maine Four was the only responsive bidder that we received. Not only were they very responsive to our needs, but candidly, they were the only ones that provided us a proposal before the deadline.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And we reached out to Heights Ford to allow them an answer to the plan, because we don't want to make a decision based upon one.
How many pickups you bought from,
So,
who from Pennsylvania?
yes. One
It's just the most recent one.
was, yeah,
No, it's the works.
it's a public works crew. In from some community. It's not. Hey,
There's a lot of things from Central Maine Forest.
I normally wouldn't have, I think it's important to focus on this, that we did not get a proposal by the deadline, and it took us reaching out in order to get a proposal at all. And then arguably, I mean, it didn't list any exceptions to the request or anything like that. Todd spent a weekend going through and determining these exceptions.
Yeah.
So I want to get it to you because
Just important.
it's a difficult decision when you take business away from home. But I think it's important that folks understand that we did not receive the time.
I mean, heights have, this is a different issue, I get that. Heights have been throwing quite a lot of money around communities. And I've known that like, giving away stuff. Different one. And
I made an offer, and forgive me, because it's not up to me, it's really up to you. My comment at to Heights was, I don't care how big the Heights little logo on the back of the tailgate, we'll make that as big as you want. Depending on the price, right? I was willing to negotiate. But no, I've never come down to anything like that.
Any more discussion for the board?
So do you need to go with a specific vendor or do we just allow the amount that we?
The motion that I drafted earlier was to, that I assume had a motion you second for, which was motion by you and a second by Jeff. And if this is an original attack, then I'll modify. It was to authorize the purchase of lubricant and body from Central Maine Ford the additional expenses as requested by the department in an amount up to $119,000 to be paid from the fire department equipment reserve.
Okay, so we can amend it to that, because I think that initially I just said, up to 119,000, I didn't specify the vendor.
Okay. Are you agreeable to the?
Yes, yeah, so.
And further discussion for the board? If not, all, well, what you got, Tom?
You know, they teach you in sales school when, if you get in the order, stop selling them, so, but there is on your second page, the balance. That's in the equipment reserve. Yeah.
We spend it all.
No, we don't. Good news, it's 168,000 in there, so if you're wondering where the money's coming from,
It's there.
it's there.
Thank you for being so organized with that.
That's good. Motion and second, seeing no more discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? You gotta do one or the other, you gotta either be for or opposed, one or the other. Or abstaining and state your reason. Huh? No, I mean,
You won't shut the.
you abstaining and, or you a no or a yes.
I'll be, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chuck.
I'm seeing my window.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Philip. Thanks for the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's no easy task there. Number 14, special action on main DOT construction, over limit permit and bond.
So this is related to the project on Main Street, which is the mill and overlay project, and then the sidewalk project after it. Customarily, we wouldn't grant an overlay permit, but the seasonality of this project is now becoming relevant, from my perspective. And then the holding a bond. We can require that it holds bond, but it's our project. And it would inflate our costs. My recommendation is that we would proceed with authorizing the overlay permit and waiving the requirement of bonding in the first DOT.
So moved.
Yeah, I'll second. Motion in a second. Any discussion on that?
How much overweight you talking? They say.
We're not gonna have sinkhole issues.
It's really to get around road posters, yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
and road posters are gonna start next year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, okay, yeah, postage makes a difference, so it'd be fun.
Okay, any further discussion? See none, all in favor? And that's everybody. Number 15 here, discuss action on parks program, coordinator job description.
So at the last meeting, you reviewed the rec director job description into both those stipend positions that factored out of last year's vote at town meeting, and so this is the parks division, the stipend position. The parks committee has reviewed this, that's why I didn't get on the last agenda, they didn't meet after. And so I'll happily take your questions, and guys, staff to approve and authorize selection process.
So what are you looking for?
A motion to approve the job description and proceed with the selection process.
So moved.
So motion, a second, any discussion on that?
I just appreciate them putting that together. I mean, like, I know this has been sort of ongoing and now we're sort of piecemealing it, but I appreciate them taking the time to really clearly outline what they're looking for and what that position is for. I think that'll be helpful.
I
So
think it'll make it easy.
thank you for the volunteers of doing that and making that happen. So that's really great.
Thank you. Motion is second, no more discussion, all those in favor? That's everybody. All right, yeah, here, number 16 here, discussion action on road names.
Oh, boy, we're gonna name 3 roads tonight, hopefully, if you're agreeable. The first is what is presently 470 River Road. The options here for you are Buck Trail, Buck Lane, and Buck Way. In all 3 of these instances, we've reviewed sound alikes and they're acceptable with staff.
First one's preferable to the landowners.
Yeah, yep, they all, you're right, that's their first choice. Yep.
And we have to make it a road because there's gonna be more than,
So, yep, so that second square is where they're building another residence. So because they will share the same driveway, that driveway becomes a road.
right?
That's really for 911 purposes.
Okay, so I'll move that we approve the first choice of Buck Trail for formerly 470 River Road.
Okay, there's a motion, second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's. There we go.
The second, we have somebody to gate tonight. The current 112 Smithfield Road is owned by the Scott Living Truck. Their priority pick was Scott Lane, but they also had a secondary pick of Elmwood Lane, and that Elmwood comes from the Elmwood Trotting Park. Because it's
The Norridgewock area.
yeah, and so in reviewing that, sound alerts and common names, I moved Elmwood above, and also with the push of trying to not make things specific, but rather long lasting. And then the last was Farmer's Lane.
Fine, I'll make a motion to approve Elmwood Lane.
Motion and second, any discussion on it?
Just because he is here tonight, thank you for your responsiveness. And also I will send a letter to you to let you know when it will be effective. I'll communicate it to the post office And we will get blue sign to, indicate that it's a private road.
Yeah.
As soon as possible, and when you call, if you have the need to call emergency services, you want to, once you get the letter, use both for a period of time.
That's what, I thought the map about, because we had to forward to the second. Plumb. So hopefully the faster it goes, the more we can move ahead.
Certainly. Yes, no, thank you for coming down, as well as the helmet piece. I had no idea about the whole fairground. I mean, that's. Something. Yeah, I didn't either. So. Pretty great, kind of a little bit of this. Yeah, I had no idea. I think that's fantastic.
How long ago was that fairground?
Sixties.
In the sixties?
They have, late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
Sales. How many sales and each movie go back, and these all the big guys. Raise the car, he's been there. Don't know, they said.
Shame we don't have.
Oh, yeah. Sam's,
Funds fine.
Okay, very cool. So with that, right, any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, this one didn't really give us an option of name, geonormal, or is that for the-
Yeah, those are their, choices there.
There were no sound alikes, and so I was in a strong position to argue. They customarily would not be privy to a Travis road name, but because the road is long, the parcel is so vast, and there will be two buildings on the property. I thought it appropriate to issue them a new road name, and the new road name that they had requested is Geo Mall. And they were flexible with the sun.
This is fantastic too.
This is off Route 201 in Madison Road, headed north.
Just.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See the trees, good the trees.
Yeah, as long as, yeah.
Right.
Stick weird stuff up, I got geonormal road, I'll approve, move over through that.
So there's a motion, a second, some discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, that's everything. Excellent, that's those. Number 17, from you, online public comment.
Oh dear.
Honestly. There's nothing to do with it, guys. You invite it and they don't come.
Hey, respond to it, it takes all the fun out of it.
How long are we gonna do this? You think it's trial basis and no one?
Honestly, I think if it's this conversation that we have every time, then at least people feel like they're, they wanna say something, then they can't.
Gives me opportunity, then it's there, yeah, they choose on it, that's fine, but at least it's there and we'll hear it. Yeah. Other business for the board. I probably had something I forgot. Okay.
So I would ask that you add reconsideration of 2026 roads for ATV use to the event of this.
Somewhere,
Second, moving second, any discussion, seeing none, all in favor, that's everybody.
Since your last meeting, you authorized the roads for ATV use. I'm not asking that change. What I would like to talk to you about is what you talked about at the last meeting. With no concrete information. And that was related to the speed limit signs and public safety. So you have that list in there. You also have what Bureau of Parks and Land had forwarded to me in terms of state statute talking about use of a roadway. And you staying far to the right, if there's a paved shoulder, stay on the right side, stay on the shoulder. If there's not face by the right unpaved, you can if it's a paved road. And then there is the discussion about the speed limit and that the recommendation DOT is that people should be traveling more in line with what the speed limit is on that road. And so, representative from DACF has said that they're going to continue to look for us, but there is a guideline that ATVs don't go less than 50 miles an hour because the speed limit is. And so I didn't know how you wanted to handle that, but I didn't think that it was appropriate if we let that 20 miles an hour stay. And your pleasure is to remove that. And then align with DOT recommendations. I think that's probably the best course forward, but Obviously, that's your pleasure, you can leave it the way that it is.
I so moved.
Okay, so there's a motion, second, yeah,
Let's start the motion to remove the 20 mile an hour restriction,
From,
DOT recommendation.
yes.
Wants to do 55, 18 on 30.
yeah, I'm been a big advocate of this, and hopefully it works, as it seems like.
somebody get them in half.
But well, so that's the fear on the side of the road, as many people have probably witnessed, I mean, when you have a group of wheelers on the side, you attempt to go around them. And you cause more smut, you are, so hopefully this is improved safety for both drivers and people riding. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Good test.
Alright.
So any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's everybody. Congratulations.
Oh, it's loud, I heard it.
Anything else, brother? Okay, that's the only thing I was thinking.
Go with that.
Motion, second to adjourn, any discussion?
I thought it was gonna be second.
I'm glad it was. Yeah, all those in favor? That's everybody. Thank you for coming down tonight.